Hello, Saints fans. Saints 47, Panthers 10. Big win in the Dome. My guy Jason was there. So thanks for joining tonight, Jason. But I got to ask you, and that's why I texted you early to make sure you went so I wouldn't look stupid on my first question for you. But, man, how was the atmosphere in the Dome for this game?
It was great, man. I won't say it was quite the Breeze years, right, where we expect to put up 40, but it was the best energy that we've had in the Dome in quite some time. Not a lot of visitor fans. I know Carolina doesn't travel as well as what we'll see in a couple of weeks with Philly, so I think that's a very good test as well. Maybe some of those Saints fans will hold on to their tickets and not sell them to Philadelphia after a 47-10 win in the Dome,
Possible, but I don't know. Jumping ahead a little bit there to Philly, but we will talk about the schedule a little later. But I noticed that so when I'm at home watching, and we're going to talk about something we just talked about off camera while we're at it. It's been many years since not only could I distinctly hear the crowd being loud, but they're being loud enough that I know at certain situations what's going on without being able to see it because it's outside you're at the game, you can see the whole field. I can only see what they're showing me on TV. And Johnson being wide open on the play that we just talked about, I heard the crowd. I knew I was like, somebody's wide open, throw the ball, and sure enough, after I got the replay and all and saw what happened, and when the crowd is in the game, people who've been to the Dome know that you can get 4 quarters of that. It's insane. It's one of the few places I've ever been to. You're right. It was the Drew years where for 4 quarters, it was like that for 4 quarters.
Absolutely.
You just beat a team down and all of a sudden you look around and you're like, man, we're in the 3rd quarter and this game is over as long as we don't screw it up, which is my second point let's talk about, is the fact they started fast. They kept the foot on the accelerator, never once touched the brake. And other than New England last year, we had many games that one of two things happened. We started so slow, we kept the other team in the whole game. See Carolina week 2 when we went there to play them on Monday Night Football.
Right.
Or we took the foot off and we either lost the game, see Green Bay, or a team we had buried in the 3rd quarter almost came back and got it a 1-score game and made a sweat, see Chicago. And that's just 3 off the top of my head. And we didn't have to deal with any of that at all today. And those are the things that keep the Dome rocking, because I've been there the last few years for some of those type games where it's the opposite. We're nervous as hell. We're not cheering anymore. We're biting our fingernails and saying prayers and doing – the last thing we're doing is screaming and hollering and going crazy.
Right. We were a little worried coming out of halftime that the adrenaline dump from the first half might hurt us with the crowd, but they picked it back up once the game got started again. We sat there for a minute and went, I don't really know how to feel right now. I mean, it was 30-3? It was 30-3 at halftime. It was an odd feeling. It's been years since we've been in that position, right? But you're right, from the get-go, from the first drive. We talked about it a couple shows ago. Last year it felt like when we had momentum, we couldn't ride it. We would give it back. We would have a 3-and-out or a couple 3-and-outs or give up a big play on defense and completely kill the momentum. We rode momentum all the way from first whistle to last whistle. And it showed. It shows what we're capable of and what we can do when we put a good game plan together. And I think that was a big thing for me today was, we're ending in the first quarter and we big lead, hadn't run that many plays, right? Kind of some similar plays to the left, to the right, but we loved the play calling. It was, man, look at what we could do with these guys. It felt like at one point, Alvin was averaging 6.5, 7 yards per carry. I know his average shrunk whenever he got to 3 or 4 goal line carries, but man, at one point it was 2nd and 2, 2nd and 3, 2nd and 1, and sustainable downs and long drives, and man, it felt good. It felt like we were hoping Kubiak's offense would feel. And look, we threw the ball when we needed to. I think Carr maybe threw 23 passes. Is that right? Somewhere around there.
Well, I'm looking at it right now. Actually, Alvin finished 5.53 a carry
on
average, even with the goal line stops. Carr, 19 to 23 for 203 touchdowns, no interceptions. I mean, I can live with that all the live long.
We talk, can Derek Carr say, hey, I'm a fitness offense. I'm going to put the ball where the ball needs to go. I'm going to take the shot when the shot needs to be taken, and understand that it's a run here, pass here, run there, depending on situation, depending on personnel. And, like we said, Brock Purdy is not the most talented guy, but he accepts the role of running that offense. And when he runs that offense, he has 19 for 23 games with 2, 3, 4 touchdowns, and that's what we saw.
Yeah. And, well, the thing is to put in, and my guy Julius Rickles here just dropped a comment we'll talk about in a second, because this is kind of tied into it, is Kubiak called a great game, had a great game plan. But very early, it was evident, because we did it fourth play of the game, we're going to take our deep shots when they presented themselves.
Right.
And it was, I think Frisco kind of came in with Carolina kind of came in with the idea of, hey, they're going to try to run the ball. They're going to try to be ball control, type offense, which we all thought they were going to do. Because from what I understood, I saw something on Twitter where I think Shaheed's in his interview passed a comment basically, hey, when we didn't see a single high safety, we knew I knew where the ball was going. I just had to get down the field and catch it.
Right.
And that's what impressed me the most is you take what the defense gives you, and when the defense gives you the deep shot, you got to hit it. Because I think that flipped the game for Carolina's defense. And Julius says it, to just waiting on Kubiak and these weapons, and it's going to be special. And so definitely can be. I think it's got to start with Derek Carr. He's got to be that guy. So if we get in a game where all there are hey, we're taking away your ball control and your short, you're going to have to hit some big plays over the top, more than one. He's going to have to hit more than one.
Right. Absolutely.
But if he doesn't need to, don't worry about it. If they're going to give us what they gave us today for the insane time of possession we had, take it. I mean,
right.
You can still win games that way.
We hit one, right? We still got a touchdown off of it early, set the tone. We went back to it later in the game. We got a deep pass interference. Those things, changes, flipped the entire field, kept the momentum going. I always say, and I felt a big thing today, and I haven't checked the numbers to see if they match up or anything like that, but I felt like we were really good on third down. I feel like we got on defense, and we continued drives whenever we had third downs on offense.
Third down was huge, because that's one of the ones, I looked at the game stats, the team stats for the game, and I kind of went back on some of the stats and had to do the math to figure out the first quarter. Third down was one that immediately leaped out at me, so I went back and checked. In the third quarter, we were 57%. They were 25%. For the game, we were 54%. They were 10%. They were 1 for 4 in the first half, not first quarter. In the first half, they were 0 for 6 in the second half on third down. And we were getting great play calls on third down and just kept I think we were 7 of 13, somewhere around there for the game. And that's not really a lot.
Right.
For 60-something plays to only have 13, third down situations, which is good that you're even staying out of it. But when you get in there, you're converting over 50% pace. So
right.
And you hold the other team just to next to nothing. So I mean, that's almost like an extra +2 or +3 on your turnover margin when you're doing that.
That's right. It had all the feels of it that we were getting off the field every time. Don was getting loud, getting off the field. Don was getting loud, causing a timeout. It was a good field today on both sides of the ball. Good energy, people having fun. Only Carolina Panther jersey I saw in our section was the uncle of one of our friends that sits in front of us. So it was a good time. It was good to be back in the dome and good to put up points like that right away. I don't know. A lot of positivity today. A lot of things that we talked about. Hey, if we get this, we can be dangerous. And we got a whole lot of it today. I don't know what Taysom's numbers were, but every time he carried the ball, I felt like he was pushing forward. I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't around the 4-yard range, somewhere around there.
Oh, no.
Higher than that?
Those are rookie numbers. Get that average up. Yeah, he was 5 for 35 for 7.
Gotcha. There you go. Yeah. I wasn't sure if he had gotten any of those short yardage ones either.
No, he was steady with some runs.
We said this offense should fit our offensive line. It sure looked like it fit our offensive line today. A couple silly penalties. We talked about that off air a minute ago. But for the most part, it looked like they were working together, right? And in the right positions, not running into each other, leading the way. And guys like Taysom, we talked about it, man, that those second and third levels of defenders, they don't want to hit them like they hit other running backs.
No, they don't. And to talk about the offensive line, actually, you one thing, the penalties, wasn't horrible. I think Penning had 2, and then Fuaga had the hold. I know Penning had a hold. I think it was on Shahid's reverse. They called it back. I'm pretty sure that was on Penning.
Yeah, but before he got a cheap call when they said he threw somebody.
I know. I'm just talking about that. We'll get to those in a minute because I got a lot to say on those. But yeah, he was one of them. But I'm talking about just during the play penalties from the offensive line. So I don't think it was very many, and I was expecting that could be a problem where we were going to see some holding calls in there, and we really didn't. And the one on Fuaga, I think, was BS because that was on the touchdown they called back from Alvin. And as a side note, I had a bet with DraftKings for Alvin $5 touchdown anytime. I was a little peeved when that was called, so I might be a little biased thinking it wasn't actually a hold. But it looked to me, because I had to listen to Schlereth for 3 hours call the game, and I'm bleeding from the eyeballs at this point. But he's like, oh, that's a hold because he grabbed for just a second. And when they showed the replay, he did. Like every other offensive lineman does that little, and he kind of let go. And right when he was letting go, another Carolina defender got knocked on his butt and came sliding into Fuaga's guy and clipped him. And then he went over. And I think that's one of those things the ref saw it, but he didn't realize what he saw. And he's thinking, yeah, that grab was like a shove or a twist or something, and that's what brought him down. And didn't realize, no, there's a guy laying on the ground that he tripped over when actually Fuaga was letting him go. So that could have been a BS call. The Penning one, I think it was Shahid's. There was one I remember, and I think it was Penning, but it was one of the offensive linemen. I think it was on Shahid's reverse that got called back on the nice run. That was legit. But for the most part, it looked clean. It looked very clean, and it looked really clean when we had to go pass pro. Because there was a couple times when Carr was dropping straight back. Now, he got late pressure on some of them, and let's mention that when they did allow that late pressure, Carr manned up and took it on the chin to get balls to receivers. And all respect in the world because, man, that was a tough – there was a couple of them he was clean and perfect. A couple of them – Rashid's touchdown, I think, was one that he had to eat one to get the ball down there, and he did it. And his guy held on the ball for him because I know that's a big gripe of yours when the quarterback takes one on the chin and the dude doesn't catch the ball. But we caught him. So I think overall the offensive line was effective. And what really scared me when we were talking earlier, I thought their defensive line was going to be very good. And I think they played – Derek Brown and Ashawn Robinson especially played a good game. Only so much they could do. There was nothing coming from the edge. So I don't know. And we got Micah Parsons next week. So we're going to find out whether our edge guys are if they can hold up. But in the corners, their corners look pretty good. But the rest of their defense didn't – I don't know if they didn't play exceptionally well or if we just out-schemed them so bad. It was like that San Francisco-Miami effect where defenses are just constantly back on their heels and guys just don't make plays. They just kind of watching what's going on. So we'll find out next week, in the next couple of weeks, when we roll through the next coming up schedule. We're gonna start being tested. But I think the biggest thing from this game was we could have been tested early. We just put that crap to bed right away, get the big touchdown, and then get the turnover, get off the field. And even though we only got a field goal on the next one, 2 scores, they barely touched the ball. Dome's rocking, and now everybody's kind of getting that momentum going. And like you said earlier, we rode that momentum all the way 4 quarters. We never gave it up. We just kept rolling. I think it was Hugely important.
That's right. We have to be that type of team. I don't think we're going to come out and we can no longer be a team where, the years we had Breeze, you always felt like you had a chance, you were in it. Now I think it's flipped for us. We can't let teams hang around whenever we're on. When we're on, we've got to kind of, put the foot on the throat and in the game early. This game was over early. You can see it on their sidelines. They were throwing helmets, throwing water bottles, arguing with players and coaches. You get that feel. That the feel back in the day when we used to always laugh and joke to say we made Tony Romo cry on the sideline, right? I miss those days, right? It had that feel, right? But moving forward to Dallas, I think one great thing I saw from Carr today that will be important next week is that he stepped forward and threw the ball on time when it needs to get out of his hand. Because if you take a step to the side or you take an extra step back and you drop or you try to get a quick little roll, Dallas is going to eat you up. They ate up Deshaun Watson all day today. Trying to move. As soon as he tried to move and he got offline, he was done. He's going down. They're very talented on that D-line. They're aggressive with their linebackers. I think you use the aggression in their defensive backs against them. And I think I'm gonna go ahead and call another big touchdown from Shaheed next week. I think the style of defense that they play is going to lend to a few chances to drop one over the top on them.
Hope so, because they're going to have to. JC. Yeah, we both do realize the Panthers may be the worst team in the NFL, but I will counter that with this. They were also one of the worst teams in the NFL last year, week 2, when we played them on Monday Night Football, and we almost lost that game. We pooped the bed. So, the point here is you're right, but we actually did it because last year we had a lot of opportunities other than New England was the only one, like we said earlier, where we actually did it. Other teams, we either let them get back in the game or we started so slow they were in the game from the jump. So the big thing here is you're right that, we won, extremely happy, predicted a big day on the offense, but it all came together and we just, for lack of a better term, we put our foot on their throat. We never let them get back up. And that's something we haven't done in years, and we need to start doing whenever we get the opportunity.
Predictions for the NFC South were all over the place, too. There were a lot of people that put out their predictions and had the Panthers ahead of the Saints. So as Saints fans, we did not feel like we were a worse team than the Carolina Panthers. But we walked into the Dome today and said, this is one you got to get, especially with our schedule over the next 5-6 games. This is one you have to go and get. I'll be honest, I did not expect us to go out and get it the way that we did, but it is a pleasant surprise to see when we're in those games that we know we can be that team and dominate some of these teams on our schedule. Absolutely.
And so we're going to move. Nice segue getting into the next schedule, next part of the schedule. You brought up Dallas, but I want to get JC's comment in real quick. But, I think it's exactly – if you stumble here and even win the game, let's say it's another Chicago like when Chicago came in the Dome last year, it's another repeat of that. It's going to be a different feel rolling into Dallas next week. We got a whole different feel now. Now I have no idea. Dallas may beat us 47-10 next Sunday. I don't have a clue. A lot of that is going to be on, is quite honestly, like you're saying, the chances that you can take with this offense, which is a lot of it is going to be in Kubiak. Because I think Kubiak realized what Shanahan realized very early when he got to Frisco. I don't even want to say in a similar situation because Frisco was pretty messed up, but when Shanahan and Lynch took over. But he was able to use the scheme to hide the warts. It's like makeup on a blemish. If you looked real good, you could see it, but sometimes they could hide it. I think that's kind of the philosophy they're taking with this team. This was a team that we played today is if you couldn't hide the blemishes and they started popping up, it was going to be a long season and we're likely to have fans booing players and coaches. And it's just a whole bunch of mess you didn't want to get into. And you would open the door starting 0-5 with a couple blowout chances. So you at least knocked all that down. You've got the attitude and the fans, and you had to win everybody over this first game, and did they? Because I predicted 10 points, 27-17. Northern Saint, I believe it was, gave me a 37-17 counter offer, and I was like, hey, I'll take it, But that's what I figured we're going to win. We were the better team. We had more talent. But for once, we had to prove it, get on the field without a doubt, shadow of a doubt. We did that. That's a good start. But, yeah, it gets real tough. And I only went 3 weeks down. I'm going to wait and talk about the team after all this. But, I mean, you go to Dallas, you get Philly at home, then you go to Atlanta. Some kind of way you need to come out of that 2-2. Well, you got the first win today. So now you either have to steal a game on the road or you got to beat Philly at home. Be nice if you could steal a game on the road and beat Philly at home and go into Kansas City with a winning record. But you want to be 500.
Right.
Because that's going to be a tough one. You go on Arrowhead on a Thursday night. You come out 2-3. Schedule gets a little more favorable for you to really get on a run. So you avoided a whole lot of catastrophe winning today, first off. But the momentum, hopefully you can carry this forward into getting into Dallas next week. That's going to help you a lot. You're going to need it. Well, I mean, you had a 37-point win today, so it should help.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Dallas looked good today. I've said it before that I hate that I feel like Dallas is going to be a very good team this year.
Yeah.
It is what it is. We feel about the Cowboys, but, I think they have a very good chance of being one of the top seeds in the NFC for the playoffs. With that being said, man, if we can pressure Dak up the middle, get him off his line, not allow him to get the ball out when he wants to, their running game does not scare me at all. I imagine that Zeke at this point in his career is going to spend the majority of the week icing up, after running the ball today, right? I mean, just it is what it is for the life of a running back. I'm not afraid of what they're bringing to the table. So I think we'll stop the run fine next week. If you let him sit back there for long enough, he's going to pick you apart. They got good tight end, they got good wide receivers that get open.
CeeDee Lamb's a problem.
Yeah.
Ferguson got hurt today.
Okay, I didn't see that.
Yeah, I don't know how bad. There was something on Twitter that when I checked it right before I jumped in, that it wasn't as serious as they thought, like a torn ligament or something, because I think it was a knee. Not really sure, but I know he left, and so I forget who forwarded. Ross Jackson, Cat Terrell was one of those that threw it out coming out of somebody from Dallas. So we're playing him next week, so Ferguson may not be there. So because tight ends, and we caught a break this week because both their top two tight ends, Trimble and Ian Thomas, were hurt, didn't play. So we got the rookie and the converted wide receiver, 10-year NFL Jordan Matthews, however long he's been in the league, converted to tight end, have to deal with. But Young struggled so much that you could have young Tony Gonzalez out there. They could have traded for JD. I don't think it'd matter a lot. He was struggling to get the ball.
Yeah, he missed everybody bad today.
Yeah. So,
and look, I hate
CeeDee Lamb's a problem.
I hate being this guy, but I took a picture of him walking with the rest of the team going on the field, like kind of getting ready to huddle just to send to my fantasy group because he was so much smaller than everybody else. But it wasn't like a Kyler Murray look, a little bulky, and like he looked like a little kid out there. Man, I don't know, when he got hit a few times, just started wanking it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was always the thing about him with his size, the two problems. And he needed a better interior. Drew, shorter quarterbacks that have been through the league, they need to be able to have their passing lanes. We did a good job dealing with that. But, yeah, I think once we got to him early a couple of times, and he wasn't – when he did try to start running, he really couldn't break out of there in gashes because that's the other thing that used to kill us is guys like him getting outside and just dropping yardage. We didn't totally control him, but we contained him. He didn't hurt us. And that's once you took that off the board, I think it was a game changer. Throw this, Julius. Yeah, good point. because I think my impression of what we saw today from Kubiak was the tip of the iceberg. Like, things started going really, really well. And not that he took the gas off, but he didn't really go, we don't have to get too exotic in this. We just kind of keep it simple and keep doing what we're doing, because there's nothing really overly complicated going on today. It was more than we've seen with Pete the last couple of years. Obviously, the motion, the fakes, all that stuff was great. But it wouldn't. There was no, triple reverse Lindy option or anything. The real eye candy, so to speak. It was just like, no, this is working. We're going to stay with it. We're going to stay with it, and it worked. I'm going to throw this at you though.
I think you saw the kind of the core of the offense that you see, in San Francisco. You see Kittle getting 3-4 catches a game. Our tight ends probably got 4 or 5 today, right? We split it up between 2 guys. They run one. Taysom kind of comes into that backfield and runs the Debo type of runs and tries to hit the second level before getting any contact. And I felt like a lot of our play calling was similar to the left and the right, but man, when you got 2 backs averaging one, 5.5 and the other one at 7, like, you don't need to, go too far from what you're doing. You're dominating at that point. And when you can do that, you're not just dominating by yardage and the scoreboard. You are completely taking somebody out of the game mentally. They know that you're doing the basics of your offense, and they can't stop.
Okay, you segued nicely into what I was about ready to say. It was almost like we just put the gauntlet down saying, we are going to run the ball on y'all.
Right.
We're going to let you know we're running the ball on y'all. I think Alvin, like on all those short carries, at any point, we probably could have faked him, pulled the ball, and hit somebody wide ass open in the end zone. But I think it was more of no, we're going to run this ball, let it score. Right. If it came down to 4th down, I don't think Groupie was rolling out there. We were still going to – now then we might have pulled the ball and threw it. But I think it comes into play. How on earth did we get 5 yards tush push on Carr's quarterback sneak, other than the fact they were trying to defend everything on that 4th and 1, but an actual quarterback sneak? I mean, that's how you can really – you start dominating the run. There, look, the pass to Juwan Johnson in the end zone, we had Taysom and Alvin both faking that run to the right. And everybody on that side of the field ran up there figuring we got to tackle one of those 2 guys, and neither one of them had the ball.
Right. Yeah. We won that game on multiple levels, on every level possible. Mentally, physically, emotionally, based off of what I saw on the sidelines. Meanwhile, we're dancing to Chopper style on our sideline, right? Like, we won every level of that game.
Randy, I 100% agree.
I can bank on Derek Carr as hard as most people, especially after the Falcons lost last year. That was kind of when I jumped on the bang on Carr train. I gave him his credit early in the game today. When we walked out the dome today, I said he could not have played a better game today. He did exactly what we talked about a couple of weeks ago that we need him to do for us to be successful. He picked the right guys. He didn't get happy feet. He stood in the pocket. He stepped up. He went through his reads whenever he needed to, and he took the deep shots. That's all you can ask for.
And he put the ball where it needed to be put, because I was even in the good drive in Frisco, because you and I talked about it after that game, that there were some balls we caught. We picked up yards, whatever it was, but it was a little behind, a little off time, a little off target. None of that today. I think I can't think of anything that was off time or horribly off target. It was like everything was there. It was for the most part catchable. We talked off air about the one, but I think this was more of a scheme thing, and it was just the way it happened. That Taysom was the guy running the deep route, but you probably don't want to throw the deep jump ball to High Point with Taysom. That's more of an Olave. If Perry was healthy, he'd be there. Juwan Johnson, one of those guys. But the ball was where it needed to be. I mean, it was a well-thrown ball. It was just the guy that doesn't do that a lot was the one trying to jump up and beat the defensive back to get the ball. But again, I think that was just a scheme thing. Whatever the play was drawn up, that just so happened Taysom was in the spot that he was the guy that was going to run that, and it was probably the right read. Hey, let's have a jump ball on this. So,
yeah,
I can't fault Carr for one thing. He other than waiting, possibly I know we talked about it off screen. We talked about it a little bit, but I got to say it again. On that play to Juwan Johnson, that the whole corner of the dome is screaming he's wide open. That's what I said. I'm watching it live and I'm hearing that. I know somebody's open. And I think the play was designed to go left and he looked left and he might have been a little slow in the progression or whatever. By the time he got around to throwing that ball, he got it over a defender that was breaking back that had run up the tackle and turned around, was going back, and the safety coming over. He threads a beautiful ball right in between them. Puts it where only Johnson could catch it because Johnson high-pointed it. Great catch. Double-toe tap, touchdown. I'm like, look, even if you're a little late in the read,
that's how it's supposed to look in the NFL, right? Yeah. That's how it's supposed to look in the NFL.
Exactly.
This was today's Derek Carr was the best we could hope for when we signed him. I've never been we've got a top 3, top 5 quarterback. I've never hyped him up to be something more. Oh, he was in Oakland. He's going to be with us. He's going to show it now. It was never that guy. I always felt like he fell in that 12 to 15, maybe 15 to 18 range, depending on who's in the league at the time. Today, I felt like he was as good as he gets. And when that matches up well with great play calling and riding momentum, then any team that has those things going for them is gonna put together a performance like we did today.
Well, ties in. I don't know if I've ever told you this, but kind of months ago, so training camp possibly before, when I was doing kind of a breakdown on Derek Carr and was looking at his overall numbers, and it's been joked about he's been in the league 11 years and had 5 different head coaches and 9 different offensive coordinators, but the one coach, play caller, and offense that he ran really well in Oakland, I think you could reasonably argue he was top 10 or better, was Gruden with his version of the West Coast for that span where he had Gruden and Greg Olson as the offensive coordinator handling the scheme and the play caller. Very similar, not quite the same thing as far as the total scheme, but kind of in the passing scheme that they wanted. Short control, place the ball, get it to your playmakers, but hit the deep shots when you got them. You've got to nail those. So I think he looked more relaxed and comfortable today. He operated like he was comfortable, like, hey, I got this. I kind of know what's going on. So that's going to help a lot. That'll help cover up some warts. So
yeah, absolutely.
Him and Janako both probably, but kind of Kubiak's job is to kind of be in everybody's ear, really, at some point if he needs to be. Oh, lower his shoulder. Are you talking about on the scramble?
Oh man, that might be my one knock part today. Let's not go that route.
Slide, baby, slide.
When he did that, we all went, oh man, that's about right. That's how it's going to go downhill. We can't have anything else, right?
Yeah, and then he popped up like jacked up and flexing and all, and I'm like, well, the shoulder's obviously okay.
What I did like about it was I think that was when McCoy got a penalty for pulling the guy off the pile, but I felt like that was a little weak, a little soft to call, but I like that he went in for our guy, especially them two who had words last year on the sidelines. I thought that was big.
Yeah, and I didn't see in the replay exactly what happened. They kind of told us after that, McCoy pulled somebody off the pile or whatever, which is a penalty.
He didn't toss the guy. He didn't lift the guy. He just kind of
I think that's automatic. Yeah, automatic penalty now. I think that's like they want you to leave the pile alone. But at the same time, I'm like –
they should do a better job of getting in there because they were letting all kind of dudes get on top of Carr.
Yeah, but my gripe is also, well, then if you're going to have that rule, you better make sure you know what's going on in that pile in case you got – because for all we know, McCoy was going in for a reason. Right. There was some – given the business going on under there, and he's like, not to my guy, which you're right. Glad to see. And he's the senior guy on the offensive line that's got to kind of take charge. And I hate to say it, but sometimes you got to take – we still hadn't got to my major gripe. We're going to do that at the end. But sometimes you have to take a 15-yard penalty. You just hope it doesn't hurt you. And in the past, we'd have taken a 15-yard penalty, and that would have killed the drive. We overcame that and still went down and scored. So,
Right.
I'm not totally pissed, but I would like to, limit the times we have to take the 15. But
I agree.
No, you're not allowed to say the N-word in here. I'm not going to put that one up on the screen. So
That doesn't fly.
Yeah, not cool at all. So Dallas coming up, and not that I want to start breaking down Philly or Atlanta, but you lose to Dallas, you come home, it almost feels like Philly's a must-win at that point. Or you definitely have to go steal a game in Atlanta. So I think you're right.
I like our chances at home with what I felt and what I saw today more than going on the road with what I saw Dallas do on the road today, right? Now with that, they are Dallas, right? We know that Dak has the 50% completion, 2 or 3 pick game in him. He got paid today, so
yeah.
Maybe he celebrates during this week and does have a great practice week, right? And we go in and we sneak one. I'll sneak one in Dallas. I will sneak one in Dallas any day of the week, right?
Absolutely.
It's gonna take putting it all together again, and not only that, but taking advantage of the mistakes that they make. Right? Don't let them off the hook if there's a turnover. Don't let them off the hook if there's a bad play call or blown coverage. We've got to find those things and take advantage of them. They're the better team. That doesn't mean that you can't go in there and win a ball game.
No, and I think you're exactly right. In you kind of have to take that underdog mentality and go, but that's fine. We're going to prove ourselves, because talking a lot about the culture change, that they've been working on all season, that was coming in from the offensive side. In the offense, this kind of goes back to just talking about the offense is kind of looking at it going, we're going to run the ball on you. We're going to just run it down your throat. We're going to impose our will on you. We're going to make you start chasing ghosts with all the crazy stuff we do.
Right.
So I didn't see much of that game, really. I don't really know what went on, but I do know this. Deshaun hadn't been the same guy he was in Cleveland that he was in Houston after all that stuff went down. And I'm going, if Core's at the top of his game, I think he can cause real problems for Dallas as opposed to Deshaun Watson. We've got weapons, and this is what you were going into earlier, talking about Kubiak being able to get the scheme and the play calling right, and then you're right, executing. Core's got to be good like he was today. Guys have to go make plays like they did today. They got to catch the ball. And we've got to limit the penalties. That's my gripe. Still saving it to the end. But
hey, look, 6 yards of carry, 10 yards of reception. You can go in anywhere and beat somebody. Yeah.
I
mean, win the
if
turnover.
you keep the ball out their hands like you did today.
Yeah, absolutely. Controlled time of possession. Yards per carry were ridiculously high. Carr had 10 yards of pop per completion. Win the turnover battle. Those flip the field with good punts. Take advantage of their bad punts. Get a good return. Man, you don't have to hit on every one of those levels to win a game. You hit on every one of those levels and you win a game 47-10.
Right.
I'll take hitting on half of those, and I like our chances in causing Dallas to, have a typical Dallas kind of flub at some point due to the pressure we're putting on them. I think that's what it's going to take. We can't go in there and just play, okay, we're going to play their game and try to see what happens and hope we're there in the end. We need to go in with the same mentality. We're going to run it down your throat. We're going to hit completions for first downs. Or you're going to creep up and go one safety. We're going to throw it on top of you with our little fast guy. but also we're going to shove it up the middle with our D tackles and stop the run. Davis coming through the hole. I mean, one of those plays that the 8-year-olds with us got up in their seats and was so pumped up when he came through. I think it was Miles Sanders he got one time. We're all doing his whatever it is, the Street Fighter celebration in the bleachers. It was great, you know. We play like that. I like our chances against anybody, you know, even if we have a few more mistakes because it's on the road and different environment. I still like our chances.
Yeah, and I'm going to go with another thing on Dallas against Dallas because we talked about the offensive scheme and play calling, and I had a suspicion we were going to see some of the stuff DA used to do back in that like 2017 to 2019, 2020 stretch with the defense, where because it seemed like we were very, I wouldn't say very basic, mostly basic the last couple of years. We didn't, but like Alontae Taylor blitzing 3 times, but from 3 different areas out of that slot corner position. That was stuff we used to do a lot that we hadn't really seen the last couple of years. And kind of effective today because, I mean, he had 3 sacks out of it. So, and again, I'm not at the game to see everything, but I kind of feel, and you could probably tell me this, we weren't sitting double high safety the whole game back there, were we?
No,
we weren't sitting all zone. We weren't. We were kind of doing that mix it up thing that we used to do that I found last year we didn't do as much of.
Man,
and I think that can cause some problems.
A lot of motion in the defensive backfield today. A lot of creeping up, dropping back, shifting right, 2 or 3 guys moving. It was, man, and we even got on the subject of Honey Badger looks like pre-snap and then, you know, getting 2 balls. He looked quick today. He looked good. He looked slim. He was moving around, you know, kind of, and you could tell they were calling different things out based off of where we were moving guys. So I think we were controlling the game mentally on that side of the ball as well.
Because
that was one of the defense was, you know, I don't know how much time we're going to go, but I kind of had a good and a bad and a good and a not as good, right? I didn't really have a bad today. And then I had a great that we haven't even touched on yet, and I think it was great for multiple reasons. And that was Groupie today. I mean,
absolutely.
He some big time kicks, and even the first one at 56, 57 yards, whatever it was, you missed that kick. They on their side of the field. They're ready to roll. They're 10 yards away from getting being in field goal range themselves. You know, he knocks it down like ice cold today, man. It was unbelievable. Everything was split right down the middle. It was great.
Well, we can go right down to, I was going to say, players of the game, offense, defense, special teams. I think we'd be in agreement. Groupie's got player of the game, special teams easily.
100%. Even with Shaheed returns, you know.
Yeah, the 60-yard return over there, but it was and Jamal Williams had a good kick return late in the game, that 36-yarder. So,
man, when he came out
really good on special teams.
When he came out running, my brother said he said, that's not Shaheed. And we both kind of looked and like he was like, man, he's running hard. Nobody wants to get in front of him. Like he came downhill like a running back.
He looked like, well, before we get to that, we talk about him real quick because I was banging hard on him last year, and going into this year, I felt like we should cut him. You know, keep Mims, maybe keep Cabal to go younger, maybe try to go find another another running back to plug
in. Faster.
He ran hard today. He had some nice runs. Now he finished under 4 yards a carry, but I know he had a couple get stuffed on some of those inside runs.
Yeah,
but he looked better this year in this game than he did all of last year combined.
I agree.
If you can get just that little bit from him, because you know you're going to get Alvin some rest when Taysom's back there running the ball, and you can do some other stuff. You know, Mims came in late in cleanup time, but he was running hard. He's always going to run hard when you get him in the game. I like that guy. So even if you got to go there and give him some carries, no big deal. But Williams really – but the big thing is I think with Williams, the scheme fits him.
Right.
With the zone, he's not bad on the outside. In fact, I think his touchdown run was outside zone left, and he just blew that up.
Yep.
Detroit used him, Ben Johnson used him effectively in those inside zones for the 2 years he was there. And he had some nice runs in there today. So saying I was wrong about Carr, I was wrong about Williams, and let's hope I'm wrong on them for 16 more games, and they just can't, because Carr looked good, but Williams did his job to come in as the guy as the backup runner and just hold the fort. And I mean, he had a nice, I think it was a 14-yard touchdown run. So I mean,
it would be very hard for me to pick a offensive player of the game for us. I think easily, football, you tend to go with the quarterback so far. It's an easy pick, right? I don't know if he could have played much better than what he did. I'm sure he'd probably tell you there's some things that he can clean up. When Alvin runs like he ran today, and when he's involved in the game that he ran, we talked about that the first show I did with you, that if we could get this set numbers and this amount of catches from him, he went right on average with that today. A little bit above it actually, and did it on way less carries than we were expecting him to. Right?
20 touches on the day for over 100 yards and touchdowns. Yeah, 15 carries, 5 catches. Perfect. I mean, that's 15 perfect.
15 and 5, right? Those were the numbers we wanted to put on him. I think Taysom averaging 7 yards a carry. I think you can look at Foster Moreau, and he didn't just make some catches. He made some big catches. He made a couple of tough catches. Mm-hmm. Maybe he's playing with a little chip on his shoulder. After the ball he dropped last year, and I remember watching his interview after the game, he took that as hard as I've ever seen an NFL player take something. But he was a beast out there, and he got on the edge and made some great blocks. A guy like Juwan Johnson, who you look at and go, okay, he's a passing game tight end. He made some nice blocks, and then he finally got his chance to make a play, and he made a couple plays. I think on defensive MVP for me is number one, Alontae Taylor. I love
no brainer there, yeah.
When he's on the field, I feel like exciting things happen, right? I think Will Harris coming in and setting the tone and being that kind of guy that we talked about he can be. He can play multiple positions. He makes big plays. He tends to be around the ball. Makes a big pick early in the game. But I think I'd go Alontae Taylor. Special team.
100%.
Said how important I thought Groupie was today. It's one thing to make your kicks, but when you miss a kick, it's more than just not getting the 3 points. You're setting up usually with the other team with great field position. There were a couple of kicks where they could have easily flipped the game around on us and brought it to one score. And
that first kick was 57. That was his career long.
Yeah.
And so that's your coach saying, "Hey, kid, we trust you. Go bang it." He felt a little heat from Charlie Smith this preseason, who's still hanging out with the exemption on the practice squad. So I think Groupie just kind of, with some other guys who have looked good in the preseason that we kind of had some questions on and look good today, is just kind of, get yourself centered a little bit, get your feet under you. Maybe you were over your skis a little bit too much last year at times. And just look, basically the head coach said, "Kid, we trust you. Go make the field goal."
Right.
And he made it. And then he kept banging them. So I like to see that. Hayball, only 2 punts, 45-yarder, and then we get the penalty to cut it to a 30-yard net. But perfect, because it was looked like that ball wasn't going to get returned if he'd have caught it. It was a great punt. He flipped the field. And then on the shorter field, he nails the ball inside the 20, inside the 15. It was at the 13.
Right.
Perfect.
Complete opposite. Kid. Their punting game was an absolute mess, right? And it hurt them. We had some good field position, and their special teams were a mess today. I don't know. I don't want to bang on them too much. We all know that they weren't that good, like one of the posters said earlier, but. It just looked like they weren't ready. We made them look that way. We made them look prepared.
One thing I will throw in that
was kind of something that stood out to me. We played super fast on both sides of the ball today.
Oh yeah. Now, one thing the announcers did point out. Now I don't know if this is an accurate number or not, because again, I had to deal with Mark Schlereth, but I could believe it's some really low number. because they held out most of their first teamers on both sides of the ball out of preseason. And he said something like the offense only took like 11 or 12 snaps all preseason games.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, well, yeah, that showed. We used to do stuff like that back in the Drew era where the offensive scheme wasn't changing. The personnel didn't really change. It was basically the same 11 guys from the year before. No, you don't need them to practice. You need the backups to practice in case they have a play. But the last couple of years when we had the big changeover, new quarterbacks coming in, all this, we did the same thing. And I think it showed. They got work in this year. And I think it showed because we did come out moving very fast, moving, with a purpose out there to go get yards and score points. I think that was very huge to see, but I think it can be a carryover effect, good or bad. So it was a good thing. It was a good thing because I think if it goes the other way and we're in a close nail biter and all, like I said earlier, that was just going to be bad signs all the way around. No, we didn't cover it, but yes, that's a good point. Penning today had a couple hellacious blocks on some of those edge runs getting out there. And even Schlereth, and I had to agree with him on this one. He goes, well, you got an athletic guy like Penning who can get out there because I think he cleaned a cornerback or somebody was trying to come up and pin a run, and he just drilled him. And I went, yeah, you got a point. He is athletic. I think we were misusing him. He's probably still got a ways to go, because he sat around and did nothing for a couple of years, and we didn't do anything to make him better until this year. So he's got some catch up. But I like the way it's starting, the way they use him, and the way he fits. We
didn't single anybody out off the offensive line. I think we just kind of covered it and said they look good. We talked about this scheme is supposed to fit our offensive linemen, right? And they looked in step together. They weren't bumping on the run. They were in their spots. They were pulling, getting out on the edge. Man, a few times when they showed it on the big screen, it was like they set a wall on the outside, and we were 4, 5, 6 yards before we get contact, and we fought for 2 or 3. And we talked about how you kind of do anything on offense when you're setting up 2nd and 1, 2nd and 2, 3rd and 1s based off of big chunk runs.
Absolutely.
I think we kind of, them guys were coming off. Look, we sit close. They were coming off the field, and they're exhausted, and they're dropping helmets and slamming water bottles and fussing with each other. And when you're doing that to D lines, it says something.
Yeah, I think too. This is the offensive line. Talked a little bit. Their pass pro was really, really good, but I think Kubiak schemed and called the game the right way for him to kind of. It's almost like those first couple plays, just get your feet wet a little bit, feel it out a little bit, and then it was kind of like starting to step it up, especially those outside runs. The big shot on the 4th play after a couple plays already, which I think is smart. That's kind of a guy who knows what he's doing. It's like, look, it's a fight. Let's throw a couple jabs before we swing with the haymaker and see what happens. Let's set something up here and try to make it successful, make it easier on everybody, and not willy-nilly whatever we were doing the last couple of years, calling plays and actually making it harder on everybody. So,
right,
all the way around, I think they fit the scheme, and I think the play caller can massage the scheme to fit them when he needs to, and that kind of give and take is we haven't seen that lately. I think that's going to go a long way to help them out.
I agree.
Middle of the field in our passing game more often, if it's there. I do know in this what you're trying to do is throw the ball into space. So if they're going to sit in the middle, then you're probably going to be throwing it deeper outside or check downs. And if they're going to cover that stuff, then you have to work the middle.
We only threw 23 passes, and
yeah,
I'd say 5 or 6 of those completions were on crossing routes or curls that we short curls across the middle. A few of those down plays, I know Olave caught a couple going across.
Yeah, he had one, a big catch across the middle. Moreau had a big one on a crosser.
Right.
So I know that there was 2, but yeah, I forgot that we barely threw the ball in this game.
Yeah,
compared to what we normally do. So
right, I think that was part of it. Is that we only threw 23 times, and I think that's where we need to be.
Yeah,
I think 20 to 25 passes a game is a lot of W's for us.
Eric McCoy, pass blocking is hard.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, so the least you can hold off from having to do it, the better off you are. Yeah. And the time of possession, I mean, for the game was 36. Yeah, 36-39 to 23-21. I mean, we held the ball almost a whole quarter more than they did.
Yeah, and look, I would maybe I'm wrong on this, but from what the game felt like, all of their time of possession came in the fourth quarter. Whatever, we just kind of kept just giving them the ball back.
Yeah, when we were playing, we started. It was refreshing to see sort of emptying the bench a little bit and getting some younger players in there. But yeah, we weren't. We were just at that point going, look, you're not going to score on one play on us, but if you want to take 5 minutes to drive it down the field, we don't care. Know, that kind of, they definitely caught up there. You're going to laugh when you see
play.
Wait, what's that?
Said there's no 37-point play.
No. So yeah, just don't give up chunk 1-2 score plays and we're fine. You're going to laugh at this next comment from JC because when I saw it pop up, I was like, and I can honestly say, I have no idea. I cannot answer this question truthfully.
Well, JC, I will tell you this. After the first Bryce Young pick, and Tim will know this because he knows my brother well, we started hollering for Dalton and to put Dalton in the game, and we're pretty sure we got a smile out of him. But one fan of ours actually turned around and goes, now y'all know better than that. We know y'all really don't want Dalton.
No.
I don't know how I wasn't watching TV, so I don't know how much TV time he got, but he
got a bit every now and then.
Anybody to play worse than Bryce Young played today.
But
there was a lot of that went on. We put a lot of pressure on him. We got him off his line a lot. We had him rolling out to his weak side a whole bunch. All pluses for us, but even on balls where he stayed in the pocket and took a step up, he was just overthrowing people. I don't know if we were online or offline earlier when we were talking about it, but man, even some of those one-on-ones where we had good coverage, he didn't even give us guys a shot. Those balls were landing 3-5 yards out of bounds. Everybody loves the Red Rocket. He's been that way since where he was at TCU. I remember that bowl game and how much they hyped him up. It was everybody loves him.
Well, and I think too he's somewhat when the camera's on the side, because I did see him quite a few times, but he seemed to be in the vicinity of Bryce Young and or Dave Canales. So it might have just been the veteran guy going, I'm hanging out right here doing the veteran backup quarterback thing. So,
maybe that was the network trying to displace the blame and put it on him, because he's supposed to be the veteran that has coached Bryce Young up this year and got him ready for prime time, right? And he puts out a performance like that. Maybe it's Dalton's fault, right?
Yeah. Possibly. I don't know. But yeah, I didn't think that, as JC said, I was like, yeah, I did see Dalton quite a few times on TV. I didn't register, but that's why I was laughed when I saw it. I was like, yeah, I have no idea why the camera kept finding him. Like,
hey, man.
I don't know. It might be a contract year for him.
He's always ready.
Could be a contract year for him, and he's just trying to get his name and his face out there because he's going to have to change teams at the end of the year. So.
Remember me? You saw a bunch of this year.
Yeah, his agent's like, get on TV.
0.
And JC is like, and it seemed like watching on TV, it's hard for me to see, but I was guessing. But yeah, Jason and I talked about it earlier, and he said, yeah, it was bad.
He was throwing balls that are typically you would call 50-50 balls, but he was giving his guys no shot. There were a couple plays. There were one that would have been for a big touchdown. I think it was late in the game. The game was out of hand. But even so, he had a guy up the sideline, and ball landed 10 yards in front of him. Ball was thrown on the line. He could have just put a little air under and let him run underneath it very easily. But, Yeah, not impressed with Bryce Young. I think every time I watch him play, I kind of go, "Ooh, man, that trade looks even worse right now." And then you see what CJ Stroud. I didn't get to watch Stroud today, but I just kind of looked at the numbers and saw what some of his guys did. And you can use those two on the field right now, and one has a complete comfort. It didn't go into the greatest situation last year. Made the most of it. And they saw something and said, "Well, we're going to go get you even more." We're not going to waste any time. Now, with that being said, I don't think Bryce Young has much help out there either. Adam Thielen. We all like Thielen. He's a hardworking guy. He was really good for Minnesota, but he's not a wide receiver one anymore. Deontay Johnson.
And that's who they have to get the ball to right now.
Completely forgot Deontay Johnson played for the Panthers until like 5 minutes left in the third quarter. He caught a ball and then pounded off the field. I don't know. Is it Xavier Legette, the guy they drafted from South Carolina? It's a cool story and everything, but I didn't see anything out of him that made me go, okay, he's going to be a wide receiver one. 2 tight ends hurt. I don't think they have much in that backfield with Hubbard and Miles.
That's a real problem.
Yeah.
That's a real problem because they're not likely to have a running game outside of Bryce Young being able to run out the pocket, I don't think.
Yeah, and I think it's very easy to look at Bryce Young and I cracked a joke on him today with the picture and everything about how small he is, and he kind of walks around like a little kid, but man, he doesn't have much around him. And
no.
I saw what our D line did, and the pressure that we got, and coming through and having some corner blitzes and sacks. I wasn't impressed with their O line either.
They were supposed to have fixed that. And didn't look fixed at all.
No,
it really didn't.
Definitely not.
Yeah. All right, last one because I think we'll be wrapping it up soon. Should have caught that pass in the end zone. That was a tough one.
That's a tough play for a wide receiver to make, right? And you would hope that your wide receiver one guy or your Mike Evans type that you're going to throw balls up to, those guys are going to go up and make that play. For him to get both hands on it like that, I thought he did everything right. He put himself in position to make the play, but that was tough.
The defender's on him.
It says if you get your hands on it, you should come down with it. So I kind of agree with you, but still very, very tough play.
And the defender was on him too. I think Taysom, if he would have also had to deal with, and I think it was a safety, I think it was Woods, making a contested catch with that guy right on top of him.
Right.
Think if different situation because Taysom has good hands, but I probably, as much football as he's played, he's probably been in that situation less than 5 times in his career.
Right.
Where he's getting a ball. Like an A.T. Perry or even a Juwan Johnson or a Olave, that's 3 of them where that same play happens. I'd be like, that's the ones, those wide receivers, or if you're the pass catching tight end like Juwan Johnson, you got to catch those. But anybody else, I'm like, it hits you in the hands and you should catch it, but at the same time, that's a really hard catch.
Route. That's a Jimmy Graham route. That's not a Taysom.
Yes, Jimmy Grant has that in his back pocket, no problem.
Maybe on the other side of the field and you hit him on the run, right? But in the end zone right there where you're going to be throw a jump ball, that's a Jimmy Graham route. That's a go up and get it route. Taysom's Taysom. He's not going to tell you. He's probably telling everybody I should have caught that ball. It was like, hey, man, you averaged 7 yards a carry today. You had a great game, couple of awesome blocks, a nice catch on one of the balls. He'll probably tell you, but I should have caught that touchdown, right? That's just who he is.
Now, if that's the last play of the game and we lose because he doesn't catch it, I'm not saying we'd still have the same opinion. So grain of salt on that one.
Yeah, got to come down with it, right?
But
I do think I'd probably throw in there, like, I love the route, I love the play call, but we got to get somebody that should make that play running that route. And I agree. Maybe he's running that route because our guy, I don't know, is A.T. Perry not dressed out today? Is that why?
No, he was inactive. It'd have been Butt Means maybe, but throwing the rookie in that situation would be just as tough. So I'm like, the guys you had on the field, that kind of play, probably Olave or Juwan Johnson would only two. You realistically go, they have a shot. Maybe Shaheed. Because Shaheed last year a couple of times went up and grabbed some crazy balls that we weren't expecting him because we thought he was just a fast guy that caught bombs. Yeah. So Shaheed might have had a shot. He's we forget sometimes that he's a complete wide receiver also, like a lot of
yeah.
So last thing, I got to get my gripe out though. I have to gripe. My gripe is 10 penalties for 95 freaking yards. And a couple of them were just – the Peyton Turner one was the one that just drove me crazy. The late hit. Like when people are going back to the huddle and he's running up, slamming into the guy that carried the ball off the whistle and then acting like – but there was a couple others. And the JT Gray on Hayball's first grade punt. Go, dude, what are you doing?
Why? Why? I think that was
and he's like, I tried, you could see where he was trying to stop and all that, and he just kind of ran. But I'm like, what do you know? A total rookie, I could be going, but you're like the special teams.
You're the special teams guy. That's right.
Yeah. So those crazy kind of, especially just dumb ones like that, that cost you 15 yards. And the reason why this is great, because I have a point on this to wrap this up, because we are going to Dallas next week. You can't be 10 for 95. That's no.
Got to clean it up.
And those ones like that, you definitely can't have. Cannot have that. So
here's my gripe.
I know you had one.
I got one. The first time that Peyton Turner makes a tackle, and I don't know ever, maybe, and we can't celebrate it because it's on our own darn guy, right? That was kind of my highlight for the day, and my laugh for the day was that Peyton Turner finally got called for a tackle, and it's on Rashid Shaheed's punt return.
Well, I think the Carolina announcers gave their player of the game to Peyton Turner for stopping the punt return for a touchdown by tackling Shaheed. So, I mean, yeah. I'm a little gripey on that one too.
I bang on him a lot. I know I do, but man, even in that moment, I'm like, what are you doing? Just run down the field. He turns to look at Shaheed and he runs into him and takes him down with him. Like, just run down the field. That's it.
Or run off the field. Just go to the sideline. Yeah, just get away. Just get away from him.
I go by you, right?
Yeah. So, that one kind of griped me a little bit. But
he just wanted to be a part of something great. He wanted to be in there. So, I can't blame the guy, I guess. But, he was hustling, but come on, man. Nah, that was just a little. I mean, look, with a game like today, it's hard to find much. But I agree, clean up the penalties because that's kind of what I'm talking about with Dallas. You can't set them up like that. You can't give them extra chances, extra downs, or 15, 20 yards. They'll make you pay for that. They put up points in a hurry.
Yeah, and that's the one thing, like, because I know we normally hear post-game. I didn't watch DA's press conference. Probably do that tomorrow after because all this is off the top of my head, some notes that I'm referring to, but I hadn't done a rewatch yet. So probably going to plan to do that tomorrow, watch DA's press conference. But I'm pretty sure his post-game probably said we've got things to clean up. Well, we just gave him 2. Penalties being the legit serious one. And 2, teach your guys to get out Shaheed's way when he's trying to run for a long touchdown.
Yeah.
That's it. Clean up those 2 things.
It won't be the last time he breaks one.
No, so just get out of his way and let him run. So,
that's right.
So, all righty, my guy. I heard a little sneaky rumor, but it's still a rumor that I might be joining y'all in 2 weeks for the Philly game. So
let's go.
Live in the Dome. So
awesome.
Kind of pumped for that. That's what the plan was. My sister told me yesterday, but we'll see if she carries through with that and actually get the ticket.
It's kind of hyped today, so you might have to double check on that.
That's what it was sounded like when you were talking to me. So I'm like, damn, I might not have that ticket for the Philly game. So we'll see how it goes. So awesome. Other than that, man, thanks for joining. I know it's getting a little late for you. You got to get up and do the thing tomorrow morning. So do I. But it's great having you here, man. Hope to see you next Sunday. We're going to do a post game, and I'm hoping it's going to be another big victory. We'll be 2-0 and screaming hoot at the top of our lungs. So.
Yep, absolutely, man. Always a pleasure.
Yep. Thank you, sir. Thank y'all all for joining on the way out. If you wouldn't mind, make sure you smash that like button for me. And if you're here for the first time, hit a subscribe. Kind of helps out. Channel's growing. Let's keep it rolling. And until next time, I'm Tim. Peace out. And who dat? Big win today.
Who dat?